And the Justice Department is expected to miss today's deadline to comply with a subpoena for documents related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The chairman of the congressional committee investigating Epstein's sex trafficking case now says he expects those records by Friday. Yesterday, former Attorney General Bill Barr testified behind closed doors as the first witness in the committee's investigation. Chairman Jim Comer says Barr testified, quote, he didn't know anything about a client list, and he had never seen anything that would implicate President Trump. Justice Department reporter Alex Mallin has more on that. So, Alex, what's the committee looking for in these documents?
Well, the committee says that its investigative purpose is based on improving how federal law enforcement investigates and prosecutes sexual or sex trafficking. And obviously, looking at the Epstein case, that is a good test case because of the myriad failures in how federal law enforcement investigated and prosecuted him. And obviously, he died by suicide in 2019 before he was able to stand trial for his crimes. Obviously, though, I think the thing that's overriding all of this is the outrage that we've seen from the MAGA base related to the Justice Department's botched handling of releasing the so-called Epstein files. Its promise that Attorney General Pam Bondi had early in her days as the Attorney General, promising transparency in all the files that DOJ had and FBI had related to its investigations of Epstein. So I think what the committee is trying to do is both kind of quietly urging the Justice Department to hand over and be transparent as it initially promised in those files, and also mounting its own investigation, trying to, give out drips and drabs from former attorneys general and other officials who may have been involved in overseeing the Epstein federal investigations.
How critical is Bill Barr's testimony in this case?
Well, it's kind of unclear. I think that what we heard from the committee yesterday, Jim Comer, is he said that, basically what Attorney General Barr testified to is what is already kind of publicly known. He said that there was no evidence that he saw of any client list. He said that he saw no incriminating information related to President Trump or other high-profile individuals. He also, affirmed what he told the Associated Press back in 2019 following Jeffrey Epstein's suicide, that he had no reason to doubt the idea that Jeffrey Epstein did commit suicide in his cell in Manhattan. And so this is kind of, again, all confirmation of what is publicly known. The committee is just kind of getting these closed-door depositions affirming what is already publicly known.
The committee has also subpoenaed the Clintons, former FBI directors James Comey and Robert Mueller, and several former attorneys general. What are you watching for as the investigation ramps up?
I think that what's going to be interesting, obviously, as they get more testimony from these former attorneys general, it's really not clear what they're going to get in the way of new information from these high-level officials. I think that what I'll be watching for is whether their testimony leads them to open up new lines of inquiry. It's really unclear, for instance, why they didn't subpoena former FBI Director Chris Wray among all the former attorneys general and former FBI directors that they did subpoena. It's also unclear why they didn't subpoena former Attorney General Gonzalez, who was actually the Attorney General at the time that Jeffrey Epstein inked his so-called sweetheart plea deal that allowed him to escape federal prosecution back in the 2000s. I think that really what we want to see is, and what people want answers for, is how law enforcement and federal law enforcement in particular failed to properly prosecute and pursue actual investigative leads when they were given so many tips and investigative leads from witnesses and other victims of Epstein. I think that is really going to be the key thing, and I think everybody is also going to want to know whether there's any information that leads down a path that the Justice Department says it's pursuing as to whether any high-profile individuals who knew of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes or his victims are going to be implicated. But I think that that is, again, something that the Justice Department says is kind of a road that is not worth going down.
Justice Department reporter Alex Mallin. Alex, thank you.